Today we're going to talk about something almost every shooter, whether they're brand new or highly experienced, has dealt with at some point, and that is recoil anticipation. If you've ever wondered why your shots keep landing low or low and off to one side, even though your sights looked perfect, this is very likely the reason. The good news is recoil anticipation is extremely common, and even better news, it's absolutely fixable. Let's start by defining what recoil anticipation actually is. Recoil anticipation happens when a shooter subconsciously reacts to the loud noise and the rearward movement of the gun before the shot is actually fired. Your brain knows the bang and the recoil are coming, and it tries to get ahead of it. That reaction usually shows up as the shooter pushing the gun forward or driving it down right as they press the trigger. There's also another closely related issue that often gets lumped in with anticipation, and that's the flinch response. This is when the shooter can't move just their trigger finger without the rest of their hand tightening at the same time. Instead of a smooth, isolated trigger press, the entire hand clenches and pulls the gun off target. Now, these two things can show up a little bit differently on a target. With pure anticipation, you'll often see your shots fairly centered but consistently low. With a flinch response added in, shots tend to go low and left for a right-handed shooter or low and right for a left-handed shooter. What's happening is the shooter is subconsciously trying to manage recoil before it exists, and that premature movement is what sends the rounds off target. And here's an important thing to understand. This is not something to beat yourself up about. Even very experienced shooters have dealt with recoil anticipation at some point. It's a human response to noise and movement. The goal isn't to pretend it doesn't happen. The goal is to train your body to stop reacting before the gun fires. So how do we fix it? We always start with the fundamentals. That means stance and grip. And when it comes to recoil anticipation, grip is king. Your grip is the single most important fundamental when it comes to consistent shooting and recoil control. If your grip is weak or inconsistent, anticipation becomes much harder to manage. One of the biggest issues I see is that shooters simply are not gripping enough with their support hand. When the support hand isn't doing its job, the dominant hand ends up doing too much work. That extra tension in the dominant hand makes the trigger control harder and allows the trigger press to influence the gun far more than it should. Your support hand should be doing the majority of the gripping. Think of it as locking the gun into place. When the support hand grip is solid, the trigger finger can move independently without disturbing the sights. A stronger, more intentional grip also helps mentally. When you feel like you have control over the gun, the recoil doesn't feel as aggressive. That alone can reduce anticipation because the gun no longer feels unpredictable. Once your grip is solid, the next step is dry fire practice. Dry fire practice is one of the best tools we have for eliminating recoil anticipation because it allows you to work the trigger without any noise or recoil. It teaches you exactly how the trigger feels, where the break is, and what a clean press looks like. Before you dry fire, safety is critical. Make sure you have a safe, clear wall, make sure the firearm is unloaded, visually and physically check it, and there should be no live ammunition in the room with you. During dry fire practice, focus on pressing the trigger straight to the rear without disturbing the sights. Watch the front sight or the dot. If it moves, that's information. That's feedback you can use to clean up your trigger press. Even though there's no recoil in dry fire practice, it's important to still practice with your full shooting grip. Grip the gun the same way you would shoot at the live range. Pretend the gun is going to recoil. This will help build better transfer when you get back to live fire. Dry fire helps eliminate surprises. When your brain knows exactly what the trigger is going to do, there's less of a reason to brace for impact. However, dry fire alone isn't enough, and that's where one of the most effective drills comes in, the ball and dummy drill. This drill is incredibly powerful because it exposes anticipation in real time. It doesn't let you hide from it. Here's how it works. Take a mix of live rounds and dummy rounds and load them randomly into your magazine. Ideally, have someone else load the magazine for you so you truly don't know what's coming. If you're loading it yourself, do it randomly enough that you can't predict it. When you start shooting, some presses will fire a live round and some presses will land on a dummy. When you hit a dummy, the gun should not move. If the muzzle dips, pushes forward, or jerks off target, that's anticipation. And the beauty of this drill is that it gives you immediate, undeniable feedback. Instead of guessing, you can see exactly what your hands are doing. As you run the drill, slow down. Be intentional with every trigger press. Focus on keeping the sights perfectly still, especially on the dummy rounds. The goal isn't speed, the goal is consistency and control. Over time, as you stay disciplined, your brain starts to learn that not every trigger press results in a bang. That uncertainty forces patience and reduces the urge to pre-react. That's how anticipation starts to fade. To wrap this up, recoil anticipation is normal. It doesn't mean you're a bad shooter, it means you're human. By building a stronger grip, improving trigger control through dry fire, and reinforcing good habits with ball and dummy drills, you can absolutely overcome it. Focus on control, not fighting the gun. Let the gun do what it's going to do after the shot, not before. Consistency beats force every time. If you stay patient and intentional with your training, recoil anticipation doesn't stand a chance.